welcome to your World Religions Review Edpuzzle. Now this activity is going to take you about 45 minutes to complete, and by the end you should have a pretty good idea about how much you've been able to learn in this unit. So let's go ahead and get started. You have to bear with me here a little bit. This is the first time I've done something like this. So the first two belief systems we learned about were Hinduism and Buddhism. Now one of these is a religion, whereas the other is a philosophy. So do you remember which is which and what the difference here is? Now our first stop here is going to be Hinduism. And the first thing to remember about Hinduism is that it started here in the Indian subcontinent. And we don't know exactly when, we don't know even who started this religion. And remember now that Hinduism, it's a monotheistic religion, with Brahman being their one deity or god. That's Brahman. It's also easy to remember these holy texts for Hinduism, the Upanishads and the Holy Vedas, because they start with the letters U and V, just like the U in Hinduism. And the important beliefs here in Hinduism are reincarnation, karma, and dharma. And remember, karma, that is your cause and effect of good and bad action. And dharma, that's how well that someone performs their duty or their job in life. Okay, now finally, what is the goal or what is the purpose of life for Hindu people? This is to reach moksha. And remember that in Hinduism, the only way that you could reach this moksha is to climb this social ladder, lifetime after lifetime, until you reach the top, and only then can you get out and become one with the universe, one with the gods. Now take a look at this caste system. Remember these top and bottom classes here. The Brahman, that's with the I, Brahmin, and these Sudra classes. Remember that the Brahmin are at the top, near the Brahman, the gods, and the Sudra here are at the bottom. Now this group, they're not attached, right? These are the untouchables. These are the out of caste. They are outcast. They don't belong anywhere. They don't get the chance to reach moksha. And yet they're reborn here again and again. Okay, now Buddhism. Buddhism is a philosophy. And this philosophy was born out of Hinduism. Remember that it started here in this country that is now Nepal. And the founder was a man named Siddhartha Gautama. He didn't like this caste system. He believed that the goal of life is to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. He believed this is possible only through meditation and through stopping desire. Now the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, these are summarized in the Four Noble Truths, and he explains that the way that we can reach nirvana is described in this eightfold path. Okay, now while Hinduism was spread through trade routes, the spread of Buddhism was more aggressive, and that was linked to military conquest. And remember, we learned about Ashoka when we did our DBQs. All right, now part 2, we're going to learn a little bit about the Abrahamic religions. These are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Remember that these are called the Abrahamic religions because they all came from a man named Abraham. And he once made a deal with God. So the first and oldest known monotheistic religion in the world is Judaism. And Judaism was all started by that guy named Abraham, who left Mesopotamia to travel to the land of Canaan. And the Hebrew people, they believed that Judaism started with this covenant or this promise from the one God who told Abraham that if he and his people just believe in him, they will be given that land of Canaan. which is also known as Israel, or also known as Palestine. Now, it's also important to remember that after some time living in Canaan, these Israelite or Hebrew or Jewish people, they moved to Egypt where they were kept as slaves. However, after some time in Egypt, a man named Moses, who was raised as the son of Pharaoh, or the king of Egypt, he took them out of Egypt and he promised to take them back to Canaan. This took a long time though, and they got lost. And while they were lost, the Hebrew people started playing around a little too much. So God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, which were carved into stone, and these became the foundation of the Jewish law. Now, not too long after arriving back in Palestine, or Canaan, or Israel, some other people from Mesopotamia, called the Assyrians, they came and they kicked many of these Hebrew people out. The Jewish people then spread to many other places, and that spread is called the diaspora. Okay, now the second of the Abrahamic religions is Christianity. This religion is named after its founder, Jesus Christ, who was born into a Jewish family in an area of Israel called Judea. At the time Jesus Christ was alive, the Romans ran the government in Israel. Jesus told his followers, that he was the Messiah, or the one who came from God to the earth to save the people. Now, Christian people believe that Jesus is both human and God. Christianity was mostly spread by one of Jesus' followers named Paul, who traveled through the Roman Empire as a missionary. Now today, there are many different sects of Christianity, including Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Anglican, and many others. But they're all Christian. Now our third and final Abrahamic religion that we need to know about is Islam. And Islam began south of Israel in the Arabian Peninsula. The people who practice Islam are called Muslim people. The founder of Islam was a man named Muhammad, and he was born about 1400 years ago. Now, like the other two Abrahamic religions, Muslim people believe in one God, and their name for this God is Allah. Now, Islamic life is based on these 5 pillars of belief. Now, like the Jewish or Hebrew people, Muslims believe that the Messiah, or the Savior, has not yet come to earth. Okay, sorry, my recorder stopped or something. So anyway, like the Jewish or the Hebrew people, Muslims believe that the Messiah or the Savior has not yet come to earth. And this is very different than the Christian people, who do believe that the Savior came 2,000 years ago. Now, even though they don't believe that Jesus was the Savior, they do respect him as a prophet or as a messenger of God. Okay, now finally, it's very important to remember that the similarities among all three of these Abrahamic religions, and also to remember that all three are related and they do have many similar beliefs. Okay, now the final four religions and philosophies came to us from Asia, and these are Zoroastrianism, Shinto, Confucianism, and Taoism. Now the first of these two are actually religions, because they worship gods, and the second two are philosophies, and these exist without deities. Okay, now the first up is Zoroastrianism, and this started in Persia, which today is mostly the country of Iran, parts of Afghanistan. You can see here the Persian Empire, which existed at the time the Jews were living here in Canaan. And it was started by a man named Zoroaster. And this was a long time ago. This was before Christianity, but it was after Judaism. And it's important to remember that Zoroastrians, they believe that there is both good and bad in the world. They believe in these dichotomies, dark and light, opposite forces. There are not many people living today who do practice this religion, although there are some. Their god, their monotheistic god, is Ahura Mazda. Now Shinto is a religion from Japan. And this did not spread outside Japan very much because Japan is an island. So it's hard to get ideas off the island. In Shinto, nature and respect for nature is very important. So Shinto is a very tolerant religion, and it coexists very peacefully with Buddhism in Japan. So while Buddhism could spread to Japan, Shinto never quite made it out of Japan. In traditional Shinto belief, Japanese believed that their emperor was a god. One of these, I don't even know what that number is, 8 quadrillion gods. But they don't believe this today. And that's something you can learn all about in world history too. Okay, now Confucianism. Confucianism is a philosophy, and is a philosophy that started in China. Now there's no gods to worship in Confucianism, but there are people who do worship, and they do show respect for their ancestors. Okay, now your ancestors, these are people in your family who have died, so your great-grandparents, your great-great-great-grandparents, your parents, 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 parents. There's respect for the past of your family. Now, it's important to understand in Confucianism, education is very important because Confucianism deals with social matters. Confucianism has a lot to do with how you live with other people. So education is a part of that. How to make your life better is through learning and through knowledge, being polite. These kind of things help make society, help people live together peacefully. It's a philosophy. It's a way of thinking about the world. Now, Taoism is very closely related to Confucianism. Okay, it is very similar. It coexists with Confucianism today. Okay, and this is the last of our Asian religion and philosophies. Okay, the big difference between these two, these Taoism and the Confucianism, is that while Confucianism is more concerned with social matters, Taoism is more concerned with the search for meaning in life. Okay, the meaning of life. Why are we here? What is the purpose of doing things? Okay, what makes us act the way that we act? Okay, so you have the symbol here, the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative forces in all of us working together. Lao Tzu, the founder. Okay, you may have heard these phrases before. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. You can read the rest. So here you are. That's those 9 religions and philosophies that we've studied in this unit, and it's the main belief systems that you'll find around the world today.